Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. All right, welcome to Ruben Uncut. Today it's a movie review. Gonna be talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which I saw this weekend, and I'm gonna be honest. To sum up this review in as concisely as possible, Ghostbusters Afterlife is probably the more artistically minded of the two films. That being said, Frozen Empire feels a lot more like a Ghostbusters movie. Did I like Frozen Empire? Actually, yes. I enjoyed myself pretty much the whole way through. I know it's getting worse reviews than Afterlife, but actually there are probably some reasons for that, which I'm going to get into. But let's just get into it, okay? First, I'm going to have to talk to you about Ghostbusters Afterlife. For those not familiar with the previous movie, I had some complaints. One, that movie's not very funny. In fact, the movie Ghostbusters Afterlife kind of forgets to be funny for like the first half of the movie. At some point, they're like, oh, right, Ghostbusters has jokes in it. Right. Funny things should be happening. And it eventually picks up, and by the end of the movie, it feels like a Ghostbusters movie. But for the majority of its run, Ghostbusters Afterlife plays out more like a dramedy. Also, Paul Rudd's character in Afterlife is written like a dick. Like, there's literally a part in the movie where he could be like, no, other adults. I was there. As an adult, I saw the ghosts. He doesn't even try to stand up for the kids in Afterlife. It's sad and annoying and made me hate Paul Rudd's character in the first movie. Because, no. There's literally a moment in that movie where, like, he could try and stand up for the kids because he, as an adult, has witnessed everything that happened. And yet he says literally nothing. He just sort of sits there awkwardly while their mom and the police yell at the kids and take away their plasma things, even though this asshole has seen the ghosts and is aware there is something mysterious going on, possibly world ending. This asshole proceeds to say nothing and basically side with the mom for no reason other than the fact that he would like to bang her. In Afterlife, Paul Rudd's least likable character ever. Like, in that movie, he is an asshole. A cowardly, pathetic asshole. Because that's how he's written. The fact that no one at any point stopped to be like, why doesn't he say anything about the weird shit he's seen, is actually endemic of the problem with pretty much all Ghostbuster movies. Because all Ghostbuster movies are somehow worlds populated with nothing but Scullys, even though it's a world where Mulder is right. For those who don't understand, I just made a X-Files metaphor there. Essentially, Scully is the person who doesn't believe, and Mulder is the one who does. But the major problem I have with both Afterlife, and actually to a lesser extent, but the complaint still stands for all Ghostbusters sequels, is that their universes are written by fucking morons. I'm sorry, that's unfair. Dan Aykroyd is not a moron. Dan Aykroyd is a smart, intelligent fellow, so I don't understand why all these movies run on fucking sitcom logic. We never see, like, the effects of the discovery and evidence of ghosts. Never leads to anything, ever, in any of the movies. And Afterlife practically shoves this in our fucking faces. They're like, hey, Everyone forgot it happened. It's just some old videos on YouTube. These kids have never learned anything about it in their science classes, even though the events in New York City would have changed how we look at both science and religion. And yet, the Ghostbusters universe is not only one where everyone is just like, whoop, oh, I forgot that happened. Oh, guess that thing happened. Totally forgot about it. Nah, ghosts aren't real. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And that's true of all the Ghostbusters sequels. All of them. All of them do it. All of them do it. And like my entire thought is, why? Because not allowing your universe to advance is kind of the thing that's holding Ghostbusters back. Like, how are you supposed to do new stories if the consequences of previous movies are always reduced to, oh, those Ghostbusters, they're probably making it all up. Like, no, that is stupid. That is literally stupid. And yet Ghostbusters continue to play with this type of logic where the events of previous movies did happen, but they had no serious consequences on the world. And that's my biggest problem with the franchise as a whole. And Afterlife, it's real bad. In Frozen Empire, it's not quite as bad. Like, there's some elements that make you go, oh, people can learn, I guess. But now here's the thing. Okay? So Afterlife is the thing that makes Afterlife good. And actually, I do think that there are things about Afterlife that are good, is that it's a touching tribute. A touching tribute from one director to his father, but also to Harold Ramis. And that stuff works. I can get behind that. Also, decently solid cast. Grace McKenna does a great job in both movies. Finn Wolfhard has a little bit more going on with his character in this movie, which is cool. They don't show him on any of the promotional materials, but James Acaster is a Ghostbuster now. I don't know why they almost seem to be trying to hide that James Acaster is a Ghostbuster in this movie. The trailer also makes it look like some characters die who, in fact, do not. But anyways, that was kind of a spoiler. Shouldn't have taken that away from you. You should have been able to sit there and go, oh my God, they're going to die. So the first Ghostbusters sets us up with this new lineup of Ghostbusters who are a young family. Well, not really a young family. It would regular age family, really, if you think about it. But they're essentially, they're a family, and now they're Ghostbusters. And in this movie, there's like a whole thing of, oh! And the movie makes it a plot point that, like, people don't want the 15-year-old here to be doing. Grace McKenna, the main character of this new franchise, who is Egon's granddaughter. Although, technically, the majority of the main squad is related to Egon, which is interesting. The general plot of the movie revolves primarily around this. Grace McKenna is 15, and essentially at the beginning of the movie, they bust some ghosts, and there's some collateral damage, and the mayor, who is the EPA agent from the very first movie, who still hates the Ghostbusters, even though, like, dude, like, this is the thing, like, dude, you had literally, like, a ton of melted marshmallows fall on you, and you still think that they're faking? Like, what is... I understand that maybe what happened with 2020 should make this more believable to me, but, like, literally, dude, a tidal wave of marshmallows fell on you, and you still don't believe the ghosts are a thing. Okay, fine, whatever. Moving along. One of the funniest parts of the movie, though, is that near the beginning of the movie, there's a part where, like, the mom over here complains that Paul Rudd's character here isn't backing her up, which is deeply ironic since, like I said, in the previous movie, this asshole didn't back the kids up for shit. But apparently in this movie, he's backing the kids up too much and not backing her up at all. Even though actually this movie makes it apparent that the real problem is that Paul Rudd's character has no spine. And he's not actually backing up anyone. But let's move along. This film is pretty stuffed with a lot of very funny people, including Kamal Nyan. I'm so sorry, sir. I swear I've pronounced your name correctly before. But Kamal Nyanjani. Oh God, that's on me. This is not me trying to make fun of anyone's name. This is me being bad at names. But it's also got Patton Oswalt. And like I said, James Acaster is the Ghostbuster that they don't show you in anything here, in any of the images for whatever reason. I don't know if James Acaster's manager or agent is just asleep at the wheel. Not sure what's going on there. Not sure why the marketing material seemed to want to hide that he was a Ghostbuster. It's not really that big of a reveal. But anyways, so they're all the Ghostbusters now. And actually, and one of the things that I kind of like about the movie is that the movie really sort of gives a lot to Zedmore to do. Ernie Hudson's character, who had previously been sort of a background character in the team prior. But now he's the CEO of Ghost Corps. So that's cool. And he basically runs everything. Now, this does lead to one scene that made me go, oh my God, what are we doing? But we'll get to that in a second. Honestly, the whole storyline with her not being able to be on the team because she's underage is something that is simultaneously logical but also annoying. Like it's like every movie where Spider-Man says he's not going to be Spider-Man anymore, but by the end of the movie he's going to be Spider-Man again. I don't know. That's just always very tiring to me, and I just wish that writers would stop doing that shit. Because, like, every time it's just like, yeah, but we know. And, like, yeah, I mean, it's the central plot of the movie, so I can't get too mad at it. I mean, I'm kind of mad at it. But basically, she ends up befriending a ghost, which is kind of a cool touch. Finn Wolfhard over here has a whole thing where he has like a B plot where he's trying to hunt down Slimer. Nice touch. So, like, that's the thing, though, is that, like, the other movie has, like, this artistic merit to it, even though it's dumb, but has a lot of heart. This movie, however, feels like a Ghostbusters movie. And I mean that in both the best and worst sense of that term. Because this is the movie where you can feel them selling the toys. This is the movie where you can feel the gratuitous Easter eggs, some of which are cool and some of which are just there, some of which seem like a waste of time. But overall, that was what I enjoyed about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, is that it felt like an actual Ghostbusters movie. And yes, that does come with a lot of tacky fan service. But at the end of the day, it was fun. And I can't say that. I can't really say that as much about Afterlife, which, like I said, I enjoyed, and I think that it's a nice, touching tribute to both Ghostbusters, Harold Ramis, and Ivan Reitman. I think it's a nice tribute to them. But this is an actual full Ghostbusters movie. That movie is like some weird prequel comic book you'd read before going to see a movie. It just sets up all of this. Apparently, the plot of this movie was inspired by watching actual episodes of the cartoon show, which is cool. But I gotta be honest, I do think the writing of the film is kind of pedestrian. Why? Well, because a lot of it's very predictable. And this is where I'm gonna get spoilery, so it's just fair to warn you. But if you hadn't guessed, the ghost friend betrays her because the ghost friend is trying to cross over, and the bad guy, this giant horned guy whose name is escaping me right now, is coming back. And the whole idea is that he was a demigod who was imprisoned in this brass ball thousands of years ago by the fire masters, who, yes, were like ancient Ghostbusters who used fire and copper to catch evil ghosts. That's cheesy and it's ridiculous, but it does give us Kamal Nanjiani. Kamal Nanjiani. So that's worth having in the movie. The writing, however, also does this thing that I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? So, like in Afterlife, they had this whole story where it's like, oh, the other Ghostbusters, they thought Egon was losing his mind, so they didn't trust him anymore, and then Egon ran away to the desert. And the only thing about that as a plot point is that it really made me stop and go, really? The other Ghostbusters think that Egon is crazy because he believes in the thing that they all believe in, and he's losing his mind when he thinks that a apocalyptic event is going to occur around a being they fought before. I still don't. I look back at that, and my thought is still like, why didn't they believe him? I mean, I don't understand why they didn't believe Egon. Like, as far as writing goes, that's just plot armored out the ass. Like, that's insane. Like, why is there no consistent understanding in this universe? It's very annoying to me. And a similar thing happens in this movie. Now, I'm willing to give it a little bit more of a pass in this movie because, like, the whole thing is meant to be like Dan Aykroyd's character is supposed to be a moment to reflect on Dan Aykroyd's character getting old or whatever. But, like, it's very hard for me to believe that Zedmore doesn't listen to Stance. It does not make sense to me. It seems nonsensical. The guy who knows the most about ghosts, and we're not going to listen to him. In fact, Ray doesn't even tell him. He didn't even give him the information. Instead, they just have a nice conversation about how they're old, and there's nothing Dan Aykroyd's character would rather be doing. I understand why that scene's there, but, like, did you have to make it dumb? Is there a reason he doesn't give Zedmore the actual important information? Is there a reason that Zedmore doesn't seem more interested in finding out what's going on with his friend, who knows the most about ghosts? Like, it just doesn't make sense. This is a movie that relies a lot on characters communicating badly for its plot to go forward, and I'm not a big fan of that. That's annoying. I understand that there can be thematic reasons why it occurs, but I didn't consider the thematic reasons to be very good in this movie. Because literally the thematic reasons in this movie are, you're a child, and Dan Aykroyd's an old guy. And it just sort of, like, moves on from there. And it's like, why? That being said, there are lots of cool parts in the movie. There's lots of action and adventure. And honestly, it's a lot funnier than the last movie. And that's really all it needs to be. Overall, I think that Frozen Empire is a perfectly serviceable, entertaining, good time for Ghostbusters fans. If you're not into Ghostbusters, then you might get some chuckles out of it, but honestly, I think that this was good. I enjoyed it. Entertaining. Not the best written thing I've ever seen, but it never bored me. I like the cast, and it's overall funny. I'm still super annoyed by the fact that the Ghostbusters universe doesn't seem to be able to advance itself very well. But who knows? Maybe that's what Ghostbusters 5 will be. Maybe they'll finally start doing some really bold storytelling choices, you know? Or maybe they won't. Hard to say. The plotting of this movie was pretty pedestrian. And of course, at the end, the ghost friend redeems themselves. Like, okay, so I will say the ghost friend thing has very lesbian vibes to it. Like, I don't want to read into if Grace McKenna says what her character's motivation was and it wasn't romantic, I'm willing to buy that. But it feels to me it has those vibes. To me, it has those vibes. It's either that or women's friendships look very different. Women on women friendships look very different than I'm aware, and always have vaguely lesbian vibes. Oh, and it's got this kid in here too. You can't. His head's chopped off the top of the image, but that is the podcast kid, and he definitely had a growth spurt between movies. Oh, and yes, that is the girl from Madam Web. In this movie, she's 18 and she has a summer internship with Ghost Corps, so she also Ghostbuster. Note the fact that these special Ghostbuster suits they're wearing are because it's cold as hell. Because that is the thing. The movie focuses on the basically an enemy that a monster that freezes everything. The movie never really goes into how many people are killed via freezing over New York in the middle of summer for inappropriately dressed people. But based on how the thing goes, we have to assume a lot of people died. Probably all the teenagers on that Ferris wheel are dead. If you saw the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. I think that's all I have to say about the Ghostbusters movie. Honestly, it's a good ride. It's totally worth it if you like Ghostbusters. Is it Does it have some rather pedestrian plotting and questionable writing choices that I think are cliched and annoying? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's hard to deny that Bustin makes me feel good. Hard to deny. Well, thank you for taking in this review of mine. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please like and subscribe on YouTube if that's where you're watching it. Also, you can contact the show by emailing me at rubenuncut@gmail.com. Also, check me out on Spotify, where it's also Ruben Uncut, but on Spotify. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful whatever, wherever, however, whoever you are.